point out to you, and that is that we're going to be practicing tickling our moles and tickling our giraffes. It's going to be quite difficult today. I've just done one room to feel what the snow is like, and it's pretty heavy, so you mustn't rush anything. Let the ski make a big wide arc. The wider the better, really, because you could do with a bit of speed in this, and then it will give you time to begin to find out what it feels like when you're tickling a mole in a good way and tickling a giraffe in a good way. But we'll do them one at a time and won't do the two together, I think, unless you feel happy with it. That was the first consideration. You were asking me about what sort of a posture this gets you into, and where we're headed. Now, we're not going to be doing this, but just so that it sort of contextualizes it for you. What happens when we're really sinking onto this and we're squeezing our grape very well is that, let's say that I'm going that way, I'm making an arc to the right. If I sink onto my grape really well, what will happen is that my inside ski will slide forward slightly. And so this is where we're headed to. So here we are, my ski is heading straight toward Jane, but there is now a diagonal line, if you like, to the direction of travel. There's a diagonal formed by, it would be my ski tips, and it's by the tips of my boots, the toes of my boots. The same diagonal line is being created across here, across my knees. What I would like is for my pelvis to be the same. That takes a lot of learning, because you can do all sorts of things with your pelvis. You can twist your body all over the place, but I actually would like to have that angle across my hips the same, and I'd like my shoulders to be the same. And this is where our snow mole and our giraffe come in, because by reaching out there for my snow mole, that helps me tilt the skis more, and by reaching forward to tickle my giraffe somewhat higher, I've done two things. Number one, I've got the same angle across here in between my hands as I had at the tips of my boots, and I've got my shoulders right, and I've done something else. Because my giraffe is taller than my mole, I've also taken my shoulders, if you can see, and done this. Watch, Jane, watch my shoulders. So I've actually ended up like that. By reaching out that way, I get my hips onto the inside of the arc, and by having my giraffe taller than my mole, I end up having tilted myself that way as well. I only mention this in context because this is where we're heading. Your rate of progress through skiing development starts off quite rapidly. Well, it starts off very slowly, then it builds rapidly, and then you start getting marginal returns. So you have to put more and more effort in for the same increment of benefit. And there was something I saw you do earlier on, which I think I need to mention, because this is a safety issue as well as a technical issue. And that is, you actually showed me, when you were trying to get these feelings and going through this thinking process, you went, right, I need to do that. Now, can you see what I'm doing with my knee? I'm actually turning it inwards like that. That can be quite dangerous. It's preferable, very preferable not to do it. If you've got your knee like that, and you're unfortunate enough to hit a sudden bump or a hollow in the snow, you run the risk, not necessarily going to happen, but you run the risk of damaging your medial ligament here. And so what we're actually trying to do when we sink down and we drive our shin forward is to drive our knee directly towards the ski tip. Not to drive our knee inwards like that, but straight toward the ski tip. If I then want to have the ski tilt more, the way to do it is with my hips. So because the ski tilts, my knee is still driving straight toward the ski tip in the same plane, but I've tilted the skis by getting my hips across onto the inside of the arc, and that was just a safety thing. One more thing. These are small technical elements. These are the little games we play, and the very small movements that we make that get very large responses from Mother Earth because of our velocity. Don't lose sight of the fact that these are just individual technical elements, And what really matters is the process that I keep trying to drum into everybody. It's the having an intention, knowing what that intention is, imagining your way through it so you will know beforehand which of your senses is most likely to tell you what the outcome is. Do you actually feel it? Do you actually notice it? That's the really important part. And then you start off with a small technical element anyway, don't you? You say, well, you know, I want to be in a good ready for action posture. I'm not setting off until I'm in a good ready for action posture. Okay, now I think I've got it. Okay, now go. Add one more thing. You've watched Wimbledon, and you've watched our tennis player, Gianna Conta. And before she serves, she does this very exaggerated bouncing the ball. If you watch her and you count it, you will see that before every first service, she bounces the ball 6 times, and before every second service, she bounces the ball 5 times, and it never changes. She always does 6 times the first one, 5 times the second one. That is her equivalent of our getting in a comfortable place psychologically by saying, right, I've gone through all that, I know what's going to happen. Now I'm going to get into a good ready for action posture. So if you establish this routine, this is psychologically very comfortable because it becomes what you do. But you then need, it can get too comfortable and you get reluctant to move off, especially if it's steep. Yeah. So you need something that says, that's it, it's all over. You've done your preparation, you've programmed the missile, go. Run the risk of it not going right. And what I used to do was I'm holding my two poles. I've got myself in a good ready for action posture. I'm now psychologically prepared. It's been nice and comfortable. And I used to go, and the instant I did that, that was my way of saying, that part's over, now let's go. Yeah. And I recommend it. So, you know, build your own, don't do what I do, but find something that works for you. So that's it. Don't forget, the snow is going to be slow and a bit claggy, and if we're making big rounded arcs across the slope, you need to make big, let them run, do big wide arcs and give yourself time to find moly. That's it. Great That's stuff. All I can say really. We've got to go and do it now.